Today, Menno Bergsen joins me, a Dutch goalkeeper at the age of 24. Menno, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's a really interesting career you've got. You know, you've been on the bench for some big games in places like Fenerbahce, places where people dream of playing. But start off with telling us where it all started for you in football. What was your first footballing memory?
My first football memory was playing for the local village club. So that's a long, long time ago. Started off there with like 5, 6 years old. But I even heard stories that I started kicking balls with like 2 or 3 years old. So yeah, I started as an outfield player, not as a goalkeeper. Just enjoy, just play, kick the ball. And then one moment, my father, he showed me some goalkeeper gloves because he used to be a goalkeeper himself. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's give it a try. And since that moment, I never went out of the goal. And yeah, let me think. When I was 10, I moved to Sparta Rotterdam to this professional environment. It's actually a funny story because with my village team, we played this game against Sparta Rotterdam and we lost like 13-0. So it was a horrible game for me as a goalkeeper. But still after that game, there came like a scout or a goalkeeper coach from the academy there. He came to me and asked my name and like who I am, where I'm from. So that was kind of a surprise. And then a few days later, I received an email that I could come for a trial. So yeah, I did a few trainings and then I joined this big academy.
So you were essentially pushed into it. There wasn't a lot of time to really breathe and have a second to think, oh my gosh, I've just been asked to try out for such a big team in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, not really. You know, as a kid, a little kid, you want to be a professional football player. So if a club like this comes, then you just don't think twice. You just go and you see where it ends. So I just did that and never pressured by my parents or something. No, I just enjoyed it. I just wanted to do it.
If your father wasn't a goalkeeper, do you think you would have gone down that route as well? I mean, it usually starts off for goalkeepers playing outfield when scoring the goals, probably where everyone wants to be. But then, obviously, your father, you know, was the former goalkeeper in the family. Then you went into goal. If your father wasn't a goalkeeper, would you have still gone in goal?
I don't know because like when I started with being a goalkeeper, my father was behind my goal, and always when I had to rush out or make a decision, he would scream, "Yes, now!" So I was kind of good also at that age because I had this advantage. And if you're good at something, it's also fun. So I don't know if I would be in goal otherwise, but yeah.
Sparta Rotterdam, I mean, a big academy, a big club as well in the Netherlands. You've got Ajax, you've got Feyenoord, but Sparta Rotterdam's a big club that a lot of people should know around Europe and around the world. The professional environment, what did you see in that club that's enhanced you to where you are today?
Yeah, starting off, I was 10 years old and I came from a village. Everything is very calm there. So when I joined this academy, there were suddenly a lot of personalities, a lot of different kids who maybe came from different environments or cultures. So first of all, as a person, this was a big step for me at the moment. So I learned a lot as a person, but also suddenly you play against Ajax Academy, Feyenoord Academy, and even at that age, there are quite big games. You have to win these games. There's almost pressure. So yeah, I would say I learned a lot. It wasn't always easy, but definitely really developed myself there.
But wouldn't you say it's the mistakes that help you grow as a footballer, and especially in goal? If you, like you said, that game where you conceded the 13 goals, you grow and build off those poor performances.
Yeah, of course. Without mistakes, there's no development. That's like a rule. But as a goalkeeper, losing even 13-0 doesn't mean that you're playing bad. Like you can have maybe 20 saves and lose 13-0 at that age. But yeah, of course, as a young goalkeeper, you're gonna make mistakes and you make a lot, and this is part of the process. And the much you grow older, the less mistakes you can afford yourself.
At the age of 16, you decided to move to Dorset under 19s. I mean, you're now playing above your age. Where did that come in? Where did you start to realise that maybe you are better than the rest?
Yeah, when I joined this Dordrecht in the second league, they were a second league club at the moment. On paper, it's a little bit of a step back, but it didn't feel for me like a step back because I played the games with the under 19, but I could join the first team in trainings. And this was for me a very important experience because at the age of 16, 17, I got to train with real men, like adult football. And this is completely different. So yeah, I learned a lot there again. And when I was 18, I could even make my debut there. So yeah, it was a very good move if you look back.
The debut at 18 years of age in a men's team, Division 2 of the Netherlands, a reputable division. What was that like, emotions-wise?
Yeah, it was a crazy game because we played the playoffs for going up to the first league. And the first leg, we lost 4-1. And then we still had to play away, far up in the north. And the club didn't even take it serious anymore. Like nobody believed that we could even have a chance there. And then in the warm-up, the goalkeeper got some injury on the hamstring, I guess. So I got to play that game. Normally, I wouldn't even play. So yeah, the game started 1-0 behind. So it was like everybody almost gave up, you know. But then second half, we scored 4 goals. So it was draw again. And then it went to penalties, and we still managed to get through. And it was a crazy game. It was a very good game for myself also. So yeah, that was really where the career actually started, the pro career. Yeah.
I often talk about belief, and that is definite belief in your team. I mean, was the manager at halftime giving you some motivational team talk? How did you manage to score those 4 goals?
My friend, I don't know. It was a really good game. Of course, everybody kept believing. They didn't give up. Maybe the other team also got a little bit nonchalant because they substitute some players to save them for the next game already. So we just kept fighting, and also big quality of the lads because they they did crazy things there.
You moved up quite quickly in Dorset. You managed to move up to the under-21s all of a sudden. I mean, again, that was just maybe a bit of a headline move because you were still playing for presumably the adults team. But to move up a year later, what was that like to now being noticed even more?
Yeah, like after my debut, the club couldn't give me a contract because it was just financially not possible. So I moved to another club. I moved to FC Eindhoven, and this is a little bit of a better team also. I joined there as a second goalkeeper, but I was still very young. So I went there for the experience of living like alone in another city, learning from other goalkeepers, meet new people, to grow my career. And I was a lot of games on the bench there. Played maybe 6-7 games in the second league at the moment. But yeah, I grew as a person a lot. And yeah, I think it's very, very good if I look back that I did that step.
In Eindhoven, again, facilities, were they the same as you were used to, or was that an improvement?
Quite similar. Maybe it was a little bit better. But it was the first time for me living in another city alone. So yeah, it was a very nice period also to grow up a little bit because in Dordrecht I was still living with my parents, and they did a lot for me. So yeah, I became like a man in Eindhoven.
But that's difficult for some people to move around the country. I mean, sometimes for these pro footballers, they move across the world or even around countries or continents. You stayed in the Netherlands, but you're still moving away from home from what you're so used to. How did you manage to get so used to that quite quickly, and why did you enjoy it whereas some people don't?
Yeah, I started to live first with a teammate of me, and he learned me a lot, like how to cook, how to live as a professional, how to enjoy also. So yeah, that was like a step in between. I didn't start off living completely by myself, but the year after that, I start to live alone. And I don't know. I think everybody has to do that in his life, like make the step out of the house and just take care of yourself.
And then these are where the big moves started to come in. You moved to Slovakia, to AS Trenčín in January 2020. In the COVID period, in the time of uncertainty, why did you decide to move out of the country during this tough period for so many people?
Yeah, it's a good question, because when I moved, it was just before COVID. Like it was, I think I made a decision in December, and then March, this COVID started to come up. But yeah, I moved abroad because at that moment I felt that I needed to start. And Trenčín said that they could offer me that, and they have a Dutch owner. Um, so yeah, it was the same owner as Eindhoven, so he knew what I was capable of doing. So I went there and just see how things work out. And yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, as you say. It was a difficult period.
To move across into a different country now, so as you said, just before COVID, into Slovakia, to sign for a new club as a professional footballer, what's that like from the first contact up until the day of signing?
Yeah, it's not easy, because you leave everything you know. You come in a different culture, with different people, different standards. But I was lucky a bit, because there were already some Dutch players there, 4 or 5 maybe. So they took really good care of me. But for me, the biggest transition was on the pitch, because I got a new goalkeeper coach who had a completely different idea than me. So I had a lot of adaptation to do on the pitch also. So yeah, the beginning, first months was just adapting. And yeah, and then of course, if you adapt, then you start to learn a lot. If you open your mind for this new information, then you can improve a lot. And I did that.
For goalkeepers, you may not be the first choice or the second choice or even third choice for some. There's a lot of competition in the squad. And, from midfielder, you could be fighting for a variety of positions. For you, it's just in between the sticks. Do you ever feel bad reputation or bad blood in between two goalkeepers where they're fighting for the same position and they might be quite spread apart due to that competition?
Yeah, of course there's competition, but in the end you're also a team together, like almost a team in a team, because you work every day on the same stuff, and you're a lot of times you're together. So I don't like when there's bad blood. I always try to have a good relation with the other goalkeeper, but of course you're fighting for that one spot. So it's difficult, yeah.
How do you rate your time in Slovakia? I mean, you ended up staying there for about a year and a half, and that's a year and a half worth of professional football at a really high standard. What would you rate that time over in that country?
It wasn't the most easy, but I think I learned the most there, because I learned about the new culture. I learned so much on the pitch, because as I mentioned before, I had a goalkeeper coach who had a completely different idea, much more detailed about goalkeeper tactics, about new techniques. So yeah, I had to adapt a lot, but I tried to learn as much as I could, and I really improved by this. And why it was also important that I went to Trenčín is because of Trenčín I could go to Maribor. I will explain you that, because my goalkeeper coach in Trenčín, Slovakia, he had a very good relation with the goalkeeper coach of Maribor. They're both from Slovenia. They used to work together, and they have the same idea of how to play as a goalkeeper. So even though I didn't play so many games in Trenčín, my goalkeeper coach there still recorded a lot of sessions, a lot of trainings, and they kept sending it to each other. And my current goalkeeper coach saw something in me, so he decided to bring me to Maribor.
And what was that like to be noticed by someone at a football club?
Yeah, that's really nice. First I maybe couldn't believe it, because Maribor was a much better club than where I was. Maribor has a big history. It's a big club with a lot of fans. So yeah, I was excited to come here.
And, Maribor, you're still very young, 24 years old. I often say that goalkeepers can play for even 10, 15 more years. I mean, Gianluigi Buffon is such a high standard, and maybe you would want to play until 40 or, wherever it may take you. But for Maribor, I know you probably don't want to go into too much detail about this, but would you want to stay here for years, or would you like to think that this is a stepping stone to what could be the future?
Um, Look, I'm an ambitious guy, so I don't want to stop here. I'm always looking for opportunities to grow, and like Maribor is a very good club, but there's also levels over Maribor, and I want to reach them. So yeah, I'm working hard, focusing now on being here, playing a lot of games, playing as good as possible. But yeah, after that, I want to make a move to a better team.
And would that be in the Netherlands? I mean, if you had to choose, would the Netherlands be up there for a country that you would want to play in at a really high standard, or would elsewhere in Europe be a more feasible option?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to go back to Holland one day, but I also don't mind staying abroad for a while. I like other countries also a lot, like Italy, Spain, Portugal, maybe. So yeah, I'm open for a lot of countries.
I mean, you were lucky. The first season in Maribor in Slovenia, you managed to hit gold. You were the champions of the division, and you as a group, you and other goalkeepers only conceded 37 goals, racking up 70 points. So that's something else to add to the club's rich history.
Yeah, it was a really nice moment, really. I didn't play much that season, but the last 5 games, the other goalkeeper got injured, so I had to step up, and this was still a very important moment because we were fighting for the league with another club at that moment. It was either them or us, so it was like a final till the end. And managed to get champions, so everything good.
Well, congratulations for that. But the next season after that, you weren't champions again. And we saw with, Maribor, we see with Newcastle, and I'm going to base it off Newcastle here, where they got Champions League football last season. And this season, some fans were a bit optimistic. Could we even go higher than Champions League? Could we go beat PSG, Dortmund, all these great clubs? However, setting expectations for you as a team and as individuals as well, what were the expectations going into that second season as champions?
Yeah, expectations were high. I think they're always high for Maribor because it's the biggest club in Slovenia, and like the always be champion. But it wasn't so easy. A lot of players from our team that won the league, they got sold or they moved away. So we had to do it with a different squad. And yeah, it didn't go so well the season after, in the beginning. Later on, we managed to come back a little bit. But maybe for the fans and for the football world, it was a bit of a disappointment. For us as well.
You got into Europe. I mean, you managed to play in 3 competitions, the Champions League, Europa League and the Conference League, which is something quite new, actually, because if I'm guessing if you don't win in the Champions League, you get put down to the Europa League. If you don't win in the Europa League, you get put down to the Conference League, right?
Yes.
And you drew 0-0. You drew 0-0 again, and then you had a 2-0 loss into the Conference League. So Champions League, that was a high expectation to possibly go through. I mean, drawing 0-0 in that game, what was it like?
Yeah, this very good because this was something I always dreamed of, playing Champions League, even if it's not Champions League, it's just qualifications, but still yeah, the games are much bigger. You travel with a plane. Yeah, it's another stage. Very, very good experience. Yeah.
And I'm sure that experience was also matched by the Europa League. I mean, again, you're still having the chance to play in Europe, and you kept another clean sheet, a 0-0 draw. But yeah, I mean, the team that you're playing from Romania, I'm believing, had a market value overall of all your players as double. So you were the underdogs, and you managed to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah. I think in the whole Europe adventure, we didn't concede much. So yeah, that for me was very good, but we also didn't score so much. So it was really, really a disappointment that we couldn't go to the group stage of some tournament, Conference League, Europe League, maybe. But for me personally, it was a good time because I didn't concede much. I played very well, on a high level against Sheriff, against Helsinki, and these are big clubs. So yeah, I took that with me.
That season for you was a bit of an eye opener into what you'd start to experience. I mean, you played 10 matches in the league. I mean, that's a big step up from the previous season.
Yeah, yeah. First part of the season, I did play a lot. After that, I didn't play so much anymore. And I always say it goes in ups and downs. So yeah, I had a very good period. After that, I didn't play so much anymore. But now I'm playing again. I almost played up to 40 games now for Maribor. So yeah, sometimes you have to fight yourself back.
Of course. Do you like that? Do you like fighting for your position, or would you like it to be always set in stone?
I do like a challenge, but I think I'm now at a period of my life, at an age that I just want to play 30, 36 games a season to be the starter. Because in that way, I feel like I will improve much more. Like you can train a lot and you can do very good things in training, but the games are different. You know, you have this like situations that happen in the game, and you learn to deal with it with them in a different way. So I feel like that's what I want right now.
I mean, you're number 81, just jumping off course a bit. Why number 81? Why is that is that an important number for you?
No, it's completely random. I mentioned numbers here, but they were all taken. So I said, yeah, okay, just give me one. And they gave me 81. And I didn't.
Up until this age of 24 that you are now, how would you sum up? I mean, we still got this whole season to talk about, but aside from this season, how would you sum up yourself as a footballer? I mean, as a goalkeeper, sometimes you could be in the heroic, sometimes you could be heavily criticised, which we'll go on to talk about in a moment.
Yeah, as a young goalkeeper, it's not always easy because goalkeeper is also a game, a position of experience. So when you're young, you're always gonna have ups and downs. And I would say if you grow a little bit older, it will become more stable. So how I see myself, I think I grew a lot. If I look where I come from, I think my career is still going like this. Not in a straight line, maybe like this, but yeah, I'm fine.
I mean, goalkeepers is sometimes the best position, sometimes the worst position. I mean, for you, it would be actually, if you could choose a position to play, would it still be goalkeeper in your ideal world at this level?
Yes, yes, I love it. I agree with you that it's not an easy job because nowadays you have to be good in everything. You have to save everything and be good with the foot also, with the feet. So yeah, it's very complex.
Recoveries as a goalkeeper, sometimes you could stretch a bit too far. You could pull your hamstring like the goalkeeper did before you made your debut in the second division of the Netherlands. For a goalkeeper, is there, because I've looked at your injury history, there's not too many injuries for you, I have to say, but recovery is still very important. So how do you go about that business?
Yeah, luckily I get so much injury so far. Look, if you have an injury, maybe it's already a bit late. Like I'm not with every injury. Sometimes accidents happen, but I believe that if you take good care of your body every day, that means mobility, stretching, some injury prevention exercises. It can help you a lot, like to prevent an injury.
Is there a lot of because obviously you're in a professional club, you would see a lot of players get injured? I mean, for some at the levels like Daniel Sturridge, for example, injury prone quite heavily, where they're often in the recovery sessions, ice baths, etc. Is it just the stretches for you? Is that all you need to do as a goalkeeper? There's nothing more, nothing less?
No, it's more. As a goalkeeper, you dive a lot, so your shoulders are also very important. So I do a lot of shoulder mobility with elastics, with my own body weight, because if you stretch your arm every day like this, you need to be really flexible. And it's just a different way of doing your work than players because they have to do different things. So it's a daily job. It's a daily task.
Superstitions. I mean, before training, after training, before games, during games, is there something that you would do to get yourself into that mind? Obviously, music would probably be quite a big one for you and other people. Is there the left glove before the right glove? I mean, what is that routine to get you into a game?
Not really. I'm not so superstitious. Of course, you try to do a bit of a routine, like the same warm up. I always do a breathing exercise before I go outside. I just like that to feel calm. I feel like it helps me. But other than that, just try to take some caffeine before the game, maybe some Red Bull or coffee, and then I'm good to go.
What's the ideal meal choice for you? Is there like a certain option that you would always take?
Not really, not really. I like pasta. I like chicken, salmon, maybe, but as long as it's not too close before the game, because if it's too close before the game, I don't feel good. I feel too heavy.
Isn't it like 2 hours? Do you eat about 2 hours before? I mean, is there team meals when you're traveling away from home?
And in this club, we go to the hotel before every game, home and away, and we eat like 3 hours before the game, I guess, in the hotel. So mostly some pasta, or maybe it's even 4 hours. I don't know. I will check next time.
You've played a good amount of games now in a row. I mean, we'll talk about this season, and I'd say for you, you may be a bit disappointed with the amount of games that you've been playing. I mean, would that be a fair statement to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would like to play games. Yeah.
You've played 6 games in the league, but you've now played 5 in a row because of the goalkeeper injury, the first choice, a former Sporting goalkeeper, heavily experienced, and maybe that could be the reason as to why you're the backup choice. But currently, you've been proving your worth, and let me just say you're unbeaten. When you play, you're unbeaten. You seem to win in the league, so you must be doing something correct. However, you didn't play for the first 17 games of the season until it was the first round of the equivalent of the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, in the Pokal Sloveniji. I've definitely pronounced that very wrong. And you won 3-1 away from home. I mean, to wait that long for you to play, that must be quite heartbreaking in the way to be training so hard every day to wait 17 games.
Yeah, that's true. The good thing is that I have a really good goalkeeper coach here who makes training so realistic to the match. Like we go through every detail. So even though I'm playing not all the matches, still I get to train on a very high level, so that I keep improving myself. So then when the game comes, you do the same things as you do in the training. Of course, it's different feelings, maybe some different details, but it's not something different than that you do every day. Yeah.
Do you prefer to play in the league or in the cup? Because in the cup, you might be playing against lower ranked sides, giving you a more of an advantage. I mean, better looks as a goalkeeper, but what would you prefer to play in?
Honestly, I don't care. I just want to play every game. If you play in England, in your country, you have to play Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, League Cup, everything. So yeah, no, it's both. I like it.
I mean, you would probably like to, in where are you, Slovakia, Slovenia, all these countries to have more cups and competitions, right, rather than just the two.
Yeah, of course, games are the best. Now, unfortunately, we're out of the cup, so we're just focusing on the league. Now we have a quite busy schedule. I think in the month April we play like 7 games, so now it's a good period. But yeah, it's different than in England.
It must have been disappointing because you lost in the cup 2-1 to the team that's bottom of the table. I mean, disappointment, right? I mean, you wouldn't have gone out there wanting to be kicked out of the cup. You wanted to carry on and possibly even go to the final and win it.
Yeah, true. Because if you look at the Slovenian Cup this year, all the big clubs, they're out. Olympia is out, Celje is out, we are out. So if we would have won that game, there was a big chance to win the cup also. So it's a big disappointment.
And regret must have kicked in because you beat the team 1-0 a matter of weeks later. So that's disappointment. Right, so you're in the club where you're second choice goalkeeper. But as we've said, you've played a numerous amount of games, 5 games in a row, and you've kept 3 clean sheets in a row. So you're building off really good performances here. However, you've often been criticised as a goalkeeper. I mean, clumsy is the word that's been said in the past, and you've been maybe been put in the wrong book at times. I mean, do you let this criticism get to you? I mean, or do you have to cut it out and block it out?
Yeah, honestly, I don't read what's in the media. Really, I do that on purpose because I like to just focus on my job, and I know immediately if I do something clumsy or if I do wrong. I know it immediately, so I just speak about it with my goalkeeper coach or with some people in the club, maybe with my family, and then I try to move on because there's no time in football to stay too long in that moment.
I mean, you mentioned about building upon your performances and maybe even leaving Maribor in the future to be able to go ahead and play first team football. Your manager said that you have the quality to replace the current goalkeeper. I mean, is that words of motivation, or would you say that's just words to possibly just keep you at the club because you're a good backup goalkeeper to have around?
Um, no, it's motivation. Um, like the other goalkeeper is back from injury now, and I'm still playing the games. So I really appreciate from the coach that he gives me the chance to stay in the goal now, because I think I'm performing well. I have 3 clean sheets in a row now. So for him, it's no reason to change yet, and I think it's a good opportunity for me to maybe claim this position.
I often say to people, professionals from around the world or anywhere where they might be playing, whether it be England or Spain or wherever, I often say that the big leagues aren't that great to be able to push yourself up standards. I mean, you're playing in a country that wouldn't be considered the top 5, 6 leagues in the world, but in a way, that's quite lucky because you're playing in front of a decent fan base, you're playing in proper facilities, stadiums, and still at the professional status. Is that luck? Because if you were in England or you were in the Netherlands, would you be at this level comparison? Would you still be in the second tier of the Netherlands or the second tier of England, or would it be quite further down because of the level in class?
For me, it's always difficult to say, but what I know is that the football world is bigger than only Netherlands or England or the top countries. Here, you also have really good football. So,
Who is your inspiration growing up?
um, as a goalkeeper, I really like Casillas always, Iker Casillas from Real Madrid at the time. No, I really liked his style. I felt that I maybe could compare myself a little bit with him because he's not the tallest goalkeeper. I'm not as well. Yeah, I just enjoy watching him.
For a goalkeeper, what's the buzz that you get out? I mean, obviously, maybe saving a penalty, but is there like a weird one where you get a buzz out of doing something that may be a bit unusual or unnecessary for some people?
Um, yeah, as a goalkeeper, it's difficult sometimes to make the difference. I mean, you can have a very good game and still lose the game, and then you didn't make the difference. For example, for an attacker, is different because he can score 3 goals and then you win the game. But I don't know. I just I like my job. I like to think about details. It's very detailed because a small error can a goal and it can team up. Um, so yeah, I just like to work on details and just get out of there and play.
What would you want to do after football? Do you have a set mindset as to, there could be the coaching route? I mean, for some, there's not actually an idea. I mean, do you have an idea as to what would happen once you retire?
Yeah, I would like to be a goalkeeper coach, but I would also like maybe to do something else because since I was 10, I'm in this football environment, and I know that there's also more in the world than football. So I would also like to discover other things. I don't know what yet, but yeah, the world is bigger than only this what I'm doing now. So I'm open for a lot of things.
I mean, your club at NK Maribor have signed Joseph Iliak. I mean, a player from Atalanta, played Champions League football, obviously coming towards the end of his career, but no doubt he's still a wonderful and great player. What does he bring in a changing room that maybe players that have been at Maribor for a few years or, haven't had that top level experience? What does he bring that's different to the rest?
Yeah, he's a quality player. He brings a lot of experience on the pitch. Yeah, people look up to him because he's a very famous guy in Italy, famous guy in Europe almost because he did amazing league. Um, Bringing a lot of experience on the pitch, I would say. He carries the team sometimes, and we need him.
Is that a negative at times? Because the one guy carrying your team who is injured, what might happen if he gets a red card? What might happen? Surely you'd want the 11 in class to be spread out, but of course that one great player would be a great thing to have in training, etc.
Yeah, it's not that he's alone making the difference, but it's just sometimes he sees things that other players wouldn't see, maybe like a pass in between on the right moment on the right leg, which leads to a goal. So without him, we can still win games, but I feel like he brings something extra.
We mentioned the extra competitions, the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and all sorts that we have over in England. So much up for grabs for so many teams, whether you be at the bottom of the table, top of the table. However, in places like Poland or where you are in Maribor, etc., there's less competition for trophies, and it may be that the same few teams are winning the same competitions every single year. So for your club, would the ambition to be to go far in Europe? I mean, there hasn't really been a stage so far where you've been in the proper Champions League, proper Europa League, proper Conference League. It's just been the qualification rounds. Obviously, it's still a great opportunity and achievement. But as a club in the long term for yourself, would it be to play in the actual competition itself?
Yes, for sure. Maribor is a club with a lot of history. Like I think in 2017 was the last time, but before that, I think already 3 more times they played Champions League. So that's obviously where we want to go again. And 2 years ago, we were really close, as you mentioned, that game in Romania to go to the Conference League. I think in the coming years, the club is aiming for this, to play Europe. We all want that. To get more exposure also for the Slovenian football, for the club Maribor, because it's really a big club. People know Maribor. So I feel like we belong in some European tournament.
Do you like that? Do you like leaving the country and to going to play in places like Turkey, which we'll talk about in a moment? I mean, what is that routine like to going to another country to play European football for a big competition up for grabs? You could play West Ham, you could play all these great, wonderful teams. What's that like? When do you leave your where you are to go to the place, and what's that routine like?
Yeah, I would say in the morning you catch the plane. It's a private plane, only with the team, and you go to Istanbul, for example. Now against Fenerbahce, go to Istanbul, go to the hotel, take a rest, and then you train in their stadium in the evening. Then you go to bed, eat amazing because all these hotels are really good. Then you go to bed. Next day is match day. Maybe you take a walk in the morning or do some stretching, and then it's just getting ready for the game. And for me, I don't like to wait the whole day. You just want to get out there and play. And for example, against Fenerbahce, it was really amazing because you know the fans in Turkey, they live for football. So even in the bus to the stadium, from the hotel to the stadium, everybody was already out cheering for the club, like bullying us a little bit. So yeah, it was a nice experience. It was I think 40,000 people, but crazy people.
Recently in Turkish football, there's been a bit of controversy around, I think it is Fenerbahce, where they want to withdraw from the Turkish Super League because of the poor atmosphere, because of the uncertainty and unsafety of players, because there's not enough policing, there's not enough security. I mean, when you were there, you obviously see these crazy fans, you see their expectations of the club, but at times, does that go a bit too far?
Yeah, at that time, for me, it didn't feel unsafe or something. Because fans coming on the pitch and fight like happened now in Turkey, this doesn't belong. This doesn't belong on a football pitch. So for me, it's a shame that this happens. Shouldn't happen. They can be crazy, but only outside of the pitch, not on the pitch. It shouldn't be dangerous to go out there.
Saudi Arabia. I mean, we've seen with Ronaldo, Mane, all these wonderful players heading towards Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Qatar. And we obviously saw the World Cup being held in Qatar. And they're building a real infrastructure for their football. Would that be a place where, can you as a footballer see it staying afloat? Or can you see them falling off in the next few years because it may not be as sustainable as we think?
Yeah, I have respect what they're trying to do there. I think the league improved a lot last years with the players that went there. But for now, I feel like Europe is still the center of football, and it's difficult in the next years to beat that. I think in Europe, in the Champions League, with all these big clubs with a history, I think it's going to stay the center of football.
I mean, do you think that's because you mentioned the Champions League and it's amazing history of all these wonderful teams, but also getting Ronaldo over there, Mane, and these good players isn't going to really entitle anyone else to come in if there's nothing big up for grabs in terms of competitions. I mean, I know the money out there is immense, but competition-wise, it's because of the Champions League and these competitions that you can fight for.
Yeah, I think it's a competition. Of course, they have good players there, and I hope for them that the league will grow and be better, because why not? I think it's nice what they're doing there. But clubs like Real Madrid, Manchester City now, Manchester United, all these clubs in Europe, they have some. We have some emotion with these clubs, so I think it's difficult to forget this.
And I completely agree with you, because I think, you've played clubs like Sheriff, for example, and even Maribor. They could go ahead and play Real Madrid, in these one-off games or in these competitions in the group stages, for example. And obviously next season it changes where there's a big league table rather than the individual groups. However, you could really be playing against Real Madrid. And wouldn't you much rather do that than probably be on double the money, triple the money in Saudi Arabia, but playing less of these great teams?
Yeah, for now, yes. I don't know how it will be in the end of my career. I judge nobody who's going there, because I understand. Sometimes if you're in the end of the career, you just want to earn as much money as you can. I understand that. But for now, I would like to compete, to grow here in Europe. And as you say, maybe we'll play Real Madrid one day. Sheriff did it, and we played Sheriff,
Yes.
so why not?
Yes, absolutely. For yourself, though, I mean, I keep going back to the age of 24, still relatively young as a footballer, and that's probably just the start of a goalkeeper's professional career. Realistically, could you be up for picks for the Dutch national team? Would that be an option for you to play with players like Van Dijk and all these amazing players?
That would be awesome. Why not? Why not? You have to dream big, right? Of course, it's a goal one time to join the national team. I don't know if it's realistic for now, because we have a lot of great goalkeepers playing in the Premier League, playing in the Dutch First League. So I don't think the national team coach is watching out to Maribor. But if I make a few steps, why not? Why not?
And with that, steps would probably be closer to the Netherlands, closer in terms of the reputation of the club. I mean, you mentioned going back in your career in terms of the youth teams where you maybe have to take a step back to go forward. Is that really an option in your career to now take that step back to go forward again, to take that risk?
Yeah, definitely. That I would consider that as an option always, because it's not always about the club where you are in the moment and how good and how awesome it is. In the end, you need the experience also of playing 36 games a season. And if I need to do that, maybe with one step back, I would be open for that. Yeah.
I mean, Fenerbahce I think it's more of an opportunity than a realistic thing to say we're going to beat Fenerbahce, because, they had Dusan Tadic on their team. They've got these amazing Champions League players that have taken down the teams like Tottenham, and they've done all these amazing things. However, you faced them with an attendance of 10,000 people, so much more than what you're probably used to playing. Was that underwhelming at times? I mean, obviously you didn't actually get to step on the pitch, but you must have been right behind the fans and enclosing the atmosphere.
Yeah, it was an amazing atmosphere. And this is you get the taste how it's like on the top level, like how it is in the Prem, how it is in the top level football. So you get a taste of that, and it's just a different feeling if you're on the pitch. Of course, I didn't play, but I heard from the guys that, like, if you're playing there on the pitch, it fades away. The fans, it fades all away, but you're just playing on adrenaline. And of course, if you do this multiple times, you get used to this. But I think it's a great experience.
Is it more of an experience than, because that could be a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? Would you have been urging to get onto that pitch? I know you would have been. You would have been, if only the goalkeeper got injured or whatever it may have been. You would have been so eager to get on.
Yeah, I was eager to get on. Of course, these are the games you want to play, where you dreamed of as a little boy. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to play, but I'm still 24, so I don't see why I will not have an opportunity like this again.
Absolutely. For goalkeepers, I mean, if your manager was to leave, and you may have experienced this in the past, sometimes the backroom staff stays, sometimes they go, sometimes they get replaced by new backroom staff, new goalkeeper coaches, new physios, whatever it may be. If your goalkeeper coach was to leave, would you be also willing to leave because that goalkeeper coach is now completely replaced by someone else? Is that how it would work for you? Because do you rely on this goalkeeper coach to get you as far as you believe?
My current goalkeeper coach is already in the club for a long time, so I don't know what his plans are, but I don't think he will leave anytime soon. I really learned a lot from him, but my career doesn't depend on him. Like one moment, I will have to leave them or him. So if he leaves, I will make my own decisions.
Absolutely. There's a documentary that came out a few days ago with Manchester City, and there was like a video clip of Pep Guardiola going into the changing rooms and having a go at halftime. They were losing in a cup game, and obviously we know how good Pep is as a manager. He's out of this world. He's a magician, tactician, whatever you want to call him. However, he actually used something really interesting. He said that the fans that come to watch Manchester City, and this would apply for you as well, they pay their money that they're earning. They're going to work to pay the money to pay basically your bills and what you have to pay. Do you ever think about that when you're going into these games, that you think, I'm essentially playing for these people that are going to work to play for them? Do you ever think like that? Or is it just more about getting the job done and just winning it without kind of thinking about the fans and what they have to do to be able to afford to go to the games?
Yeah, of course you feel responsible, but on the moment of the game, there's just one thing you have to think about, and that's your job. Um, you have to do that because otherwise your performance will lack of a lot of things. You have to be present in the moment. So for that, you just have to focus on the game. Of course, there's a lot of things outside of the club. You have the fans, the people that work for the club, and on the game day is just about the 11 people on the pitch. But as I said, I just focus on the game on game day.
You've saved 2 out of 13 penalties faced, and one of them was in a crucial 1-0 win over that bottom of the league team where you beat them 1-0. I mean, would you call that a good record? I mean, I wouldn't have a clue. I mean, obviously, you'd like to save as many penalties as possible, but you're in that position, and it must be a harder thing to do than what people might make out.
Yeah, I don't know. Penalties is always difficult. You have to be a little bit lucky also. You have some keepers in the world that are specialists, but I wouldn't consider myself as a specialist or something. I just try to do my work beforehand, like analyzing maybe, and then I I just try to save it, man. There's not really behind it for me.
There's nothing special behind it. There's no shortcut to be doing it. In your time,
No.
I mean, I'm going back to last season, you managed to get 2 yellow cards. Why was that? I mean, do you remember one of these yellow cards? Was it because you were putting someone off for a penalty? Is it because you may have been time wasting to get these wins?
Yeah, it's pure time wasting in the end of games. Yeah, you're leading 1-0 or 2-1, and you just have to get the last few minutes done. So then I'm just time wasting. Yeah.
I mean, in the Premier League, we saw last year when they brought in the new rule about the additional minutes, which makes a lot more sense, where the time wasted is the time that goes into the clock. If you're wasting 2 minutes to take a goal kick, doesn't that not get add on to the overall game? So you're not really wasting any time? I mean, is that just a psychological thing to put them off?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how the watch of the referee works, but maybe if it can help a little bit in that moment, I would just do it. You know, why rush? I have to say that yellow cards were very easy given. Like I didn't waste so much time. I just did a bit slowly. So,
but I knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I knew what I was doing.
Does that give you a buzz? I mean, because there's some players that are different to others, of course, different mindsets of different people. And something how, sorry, I'm not going to say the first word, but there's some things where they try and get in your head and try and be a bit mischievous. And, we saw with Neil Mope doing the Madison Dart celebration. Is that what you're like as a goalkeeper? Do you try and put people off, or do you try and play fair by the rules?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you have to do what it takes to win the game, and if that includes making the opponent a bit crazy, of course. But I wouldn't consider myself as a clown or something. I just try to play my game. I try to be calm also. I mean, my body language, to what I show to my team. But yeah, you play also for the emotions, and these emotions you can only get on the pitch if you're playing the games. And yeah, on big games, this can get heated sometimes.
I mean, you mentioned the heated, emotions of people and players and even fans in the stadium that could be sending you off to halftime with a few boos around the grounds. With the documentaries that I've seen over the last few years with Arsenal and Tottenham being the major two, do you ever see in the team, maybe in yourself, where players can have goes at each other's, maybe even physical fights in the changing rooms where you may be losing by that much, or the performances may be at not the required standard?
Yes, I saw that videos. First of all, I love seeing that. Also the new Man City documentary. It's amazing on Netflix. Yeah, this happens. You're working the whole week to play this game on the weekend, and then you want everybody to be 100%, to follow the. And if you have the feeling that it doesn't work or doesn't go, you do everything to make it work. And sometimes you can get in an argument, but I also feel like after that, after the game, it's finished. It's finished. You shake each other's hand and you move on. We don't stay for too long in these emotions.
Of course, well, you can't. No, perfect. So when you're in these moments, does the manager ever say anything to you where you may disagree with it? I mean, you mentioned with these halftime team talks where they could get a bit rowdy and a bit emotional between some players. Does the coach, I mean, obviously different coaches do different things, but what's your ideal coach? Do you want the coach to dig into you? Do you want the coach to stand back and let all of you do a talking together?
No, I like if the coach makes adjustments in the halftime. Sometimes we need it tactically. And I'm also open for criticism, if it can help me. If he has some details that I can do better the second half, then of course he can say that to me. For me, it's normal.
So lastly, on to your FIFA card rating. You're not actually in the game. The league's not in the game. Hopefully in the next few years, we might be able to see it in the game. It would be quite cool for FIFA to expand their realm of footballing knowledge. So let's start off with a diving. What would you have your diving on EAFC?
I would say 75.
And is there a reason because of that? I mean, why would you not want to put yourself up there in the 90s?
I don't know. I don't play the game. I don't know what the rate right now. But okay, my FIFA card, how I see myself diving, 90.
Handling. I mean, for goalkeepers, there must be an opportunity to catch the ball from a corner. There must be an opportunity to do all sorts of things with the hands. So what would you give your handling?
89.
89. You're making a good card here. Kicking. I mean, do you like to kick the ball quite long? Is it throws? Is it short kicks? What would you like to do?
I'm good with playing from the back. So find a midfielder between the lines. Mm-hmm. Just playing from the back. It's one of my qualities. So I would say 91.
Reflexes. I mean, are you the kind? You said you're not the tallest of goalkeepers, meaning the reflexes could be a bit high, right?
Yeah. I would say 93. Yeah.
The speed, I mean, for a goalkeeper, what's the speed? Is it in terms of running out to claim the ball? Is it in terms of how quick you can do movements? I mean, what does that speed define?
Speed is how fast you can react on things, how fast you can change your position. Sometimes how close you can get to a player in a one-on-one situation. This all has to do with speed. It's not long distance, just short distances.
Mm-hmm. And what would you rate that?
92.
And lastly, positioning. I mean, the goalkeeper, you need to have good positioning. What would your positioning be for your FIFA card rating?
Yeah, I'm not the tallest one, so I need good positioning. There's no getting away with bad position. So I would say 92.
92. That is probably the best FIFA card I've ever seen in my life. But Menno, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. For 55 minutes, we've spoken about all sorts, Mario Board, Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and all in between. Menno, I thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, thank you very much for the interview. I really liked it.